Hey, everybody, welcome to Grumpy Acres. Well, we've reached the eighth and final video in the series of the Preparedness Continuum. There's 7 videos in the Continuum series, and there's one mea culpa right in the middle when I had to correct something that I did wrong. Well, tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the secret level of preparedness that nobody talks about. I have yet to hear anybody really delve into this, and it's something I found whenever I was doing some research on this and doing some reading and developing the video series. And I want to share it with you because it's an awesome idea and it's an awesome thing, and hopefully everybody can get there at some point. Before we go on, if you're not a subscriber, you make it to the end of this video, watching it in replay. Number one, I'm going to put, I think it'll be right up here, a link to the playlist for this video series. But if you make it to the end and you enjoy this type of stuff, think about becoming a subscriber, would you? Come join us on this journey towards a life done free and just learn about preparedness and everything it takes to be free and live a life in liberty. Okay. So tonight's topic is how we unlock the secret level of preparedness, which is called the intentional steward. And we're going to talk about what that means within the preparedness continuum and how it represents the goal of true sustainability, resilient living for families and individuals and communities. Again, if you're on YouTube watching this, go ahead and get in the live chat because you'll be able to see all the comments there. Okay, so in the context of preparedness and self-reliance, the term intentional steward refers to someone who consciously and purposefully manages and utilizes their resources, talents, time, to be prepared for potential challenges and to cultivate self-reliance. Now, it sounds kind of overarching. Sounds like that could be throughout the preparedness continuum, but after the homesteading phase of it, that's whenever the intentional steward really takes off and you unlock that special level and you become the final boss of preparedness, if you will, speaking in gamer terms. Okay, so let's place that in context. All right. So if you haven't watched these videos before, we've got the prepper, we've got the prepsteader, then we've got the homesteader, and then comes the intentional steward. So in each one of these steps, we start building skills and reduce dependencies. And the key thing there is our mindset. Our mindset changes every time we travel up that preparedness continuum towards becoming a homesteader. And the intentional steward is the culmination of this entire journey. And you know what? I say that realistically, the journey never ends, but we can get to a point where we are becoming stewards. And let's talk about the term steward there for a second. So from a Christian standpoint, we are stewards of what God's given us, all the resources and skills and everything. We are stewards, and it's just on loan from Him. But if you're not a Christian, the idea of being a steward plays intricately into the whole idea of permaculture, because you're a steward of the land. You are purposely maintaining and protecting the land and what it produces and everything. So it's an idea and a term that fits every single aspect of this. Hey, Virginia, nice to see you. Glad you're here. Okay, so the intentional steward doesn't just live prepared. They live on purpose. There's that intentionality with foresight and for others. That is a huge tenet in permaculture. One of the key pillars is is giving back to others, right? So this is all the culmination of it. Now, before we go on, I want to make this perfectly clear. What we're going to talk about tonight starts happening in every single step of the journey, right? But each time you move to a new level, new mindset, it changes and it becomes more intense and more intentional. And so you start the building blocks as a prepper, and you put the finishing touches on that house when you become the intentional steward. All right, so let's talk about the characteristics and traits of the intentional steward. So here are some of the characteristics. And this is just, if you've got more ideas on what some characteristics could be, put it in the chat, or when the video's over, go down into the comments and put it in there. All right, I want to hear what everybody has to say. First and foremost, conscious choice. It's not about passively letting things happen, but actively deciding how to use your resources and skills. And as I said, we start doing this at every level, but it becomes more and more intense. The next one, mindful management. This involves being aware of what you have and how it can be used to improve preparedness and build self-reliance. All right. The next one, if I can get there, you'd think I'd have this memorized by now, but I've got my notes up in front of me, so I don't miss anything. Next one, resource management. This goes beyond financial resources. It encompasses time, talent, skills, knowledge, and even the environment. We're managing those with a purpose. And that's the next one, purposeful use. The intention is to use these resources effectively and efficiently for preparedness, self-reliance, and rather than squandering them. Long-term focus. This involves planning ahead and making decisions that support long-term well-being and security. You know, there's the saying, we don't plant a tree for ourselves, we plant a tree for our grandchildren. And that's the mentality there. The next one, responsibility and accountability. This is the one that a lot of people don't like. They don't like being responsible, and they don't like being held accountable. But we need to recognize that we are responsible for the management of these resources and the outcome of our choices. Not only how it affects us, but how it affects the environment and how it affects others. All right, so some of the traits of the intentional steward. All right, first one, they put self-reliant systems in place. Food, we've got gardens, livestock, permaculture, orchards. Water, we've got rainwater harvesting, wells, filtration. And if this sounds familiar, because it should be, because this is some of the aspects of being a homesteader. Energy, solar, wood, wind, efficiency-minded designs. Medicine, herbal knowledge, first aid, and community support. All right. When we got all these things, we don't panic when the power goes out. We adapt because the systems are already assumed that the failure is going to happen. The next one is skill mastery. And if I can get down there, you know, you finally reach a point where you're not experimenting as much as you were whenever you were a prepper or a prep steader or a homesteader. You know, I said it in the last video. We've got a saying around here, thank God we're not starving, because we're able to experiment right now and figure out what works best for the situation, you know, where we are and the circumstances. So you finally, the intentional steward, you get to the point where you're not experimenting quite as much because your systems are in place. Skills are integral. Skills are I can't talk tonight, guys. Skills are integrated into daily life. That's a better way of saying it, easier way of saying it. You know, we can share the knowledge that we know. And notice I said share. I didn't say teach. I've got this thing. We don't teach people. Whenever you teach somebody, you've got a master-student relationship. The only time I will use the word teach is when somebody is paying money for a class. That's when I will use the word teach. Any other time, we are sharing. We're sharing our experiences, because chances are you're going to meet somebody that's got some experience in what we're talking about that's greater than yours. And we want them to share it with us as much as we're sharing with them. Last one, skills mastery. Tasks are efficient and refined. It's not trial and error. That's why they're integrated into our daily lives, because we know that they work. Yeah, and some examples. Butchering day becomes a family or community event. Soap making, cheese making, fermentation. These are routine on the homestead. You can be a homesteader and not do all these things, but the intentional steward tries to integrate as much of this stuff into their daily life as possible. And this is the big one for me. This is the one that I really want to work on, and I want to get it perfectly tuned. Your garden is tuned to the climate, the soil, and the history of the land. That last part, when I came across that idea of the history of the land, that really struck me, because knowing the history of the land means that you've learned about it, and you know the ins and outs of how it behaves, because your land is a living, breathing organism. Well, actually, it's a bunch of different living, breathing organisms that we manage. Another trait, third trait, generational thinking. Legacy is more important than survival, period. I ran across that phrase, and I love that. I love the idea that legacy is greater than survival. You know, we're not just prepping for our own survival, we're planting plants and trees so other people can enjoy them in the future. Here's something to think about, guys. This is a very sobering thought that I ran across. You realize that we're just 3 generations away from being forgotten. It's true. After you pass away, within 3 generations, chances are that you're going to be forgotten, and most people are. But by leaving a legacy for our descendants and our communities, people will know that we were there. They may not know our name, they may not know the trials and tribulations we went through, but they know that somebody was there and they did it for you. So you're building a legacy, you know, and we build these legacies, family traditions. Every homesteader, every property owner that develops the land, they want their family to take over. They want the family tradition to continue. They raise heritage breeds. These are breeds that are not manufactured through genetics or anything. They're breeds that are time tested and true. Next one, a mindset of stewardship, not just ownership. How many? And this is something I fall guilty to. I'm guilty to this a lot. Ownership. I own this land. Government doesn't own it. I own this land. If I'm a steward, I'm a caretaker, and at the base level, that's what I am for this property. I am a caretaker, not just an owner. And the other part of that is we're not consumers, right? We don't just consume. We use the land to create and provide, not only for ourselves but for others. And the fourth one in these traits, and this is one that we like preaching a lot here: community leadership. You know, the intentional steward builds networks. They offer help, not just hoarding their stuff. And when I say not just hoarding their stuff, I'm not talking about physical items. I'm talking about our experiences and our time and our energy. We're not hoarding that. And trust me, it's hard to do. It's really hard to do sometimes, because we get so caught up in what we're doing for ourselves that sometimes we forget about others. You know, we run barter circles, we host classes, we mentor younger families, and these are things I talked about on the live on Tuesday. I'm doing a cheese class. I want to do a cheese class for everybody. I got into making cheese, and I want to share my experience and hopefully get some experience from some of the other community members. And eventually it'll become a pay class. And then I talked about mentoring, especially from a man's standpoint. We should be out there mentoring the youngsters in the community and the young men and make them feel like they're valued members of the community, and teach them the values and ethics that make the community strong. Because if we don't and we rely on somebody else to do that, we get modern society. We get the modern American society where the values and ethics that lead to prosperity are not taught anymore. All right, listen, speaking about values and ethics. So we've got affiliate links down below, and we ask if you want to help yourselves, or if you want to help the channel, and you can help the channel by helping yourself and going down into the links below and getting something from the affiliates. These are things that we use on a regular basis. And tonight we're going to talk about the All-American Sun Oven. I talked about it on Tuesday, and I want to talk about it again because I was outside working today and the sun was beating down, and it would have been a fantastic day to use the sun oven. And if you use the where is it? Let me point at it. Right there. You see that right there? If you use the QR code, it'll take you to our affiliate page, and you can get yourself a sun oven and start using it. I would highly recommend you buy one before you need one so you can practice with it. There is a learning curve, but I'm telling you what, guys, the All-American Sun Oven is the best solar cooker on the market, in my opinion. If there's something else out there, I don't know about it. All right, so use the QR code or go down the links below. All right, enough of the shameless plug and rampant capitalism. Okay, so the next one, let's go back. Let's revisit why it's intentional. All right, none of these traits and characteristics come about or are developed by accident. Just like we don't prepare on accident. We deliberately prepare. We are not reactive. We are proactive, and it is deliberate, intentional. The intentional steward chooses to live simply, not out of necessity, but out of wisdom. How many in the comments? How many of you live a simple life because it's way cheaper than living another life, another way of living, right? A lot of us are by finances or circumstances are forced to live simply. I know we have. The last 3 years we've been living a very, well, I'm not going to say a very simple life, a more simple life. The next thing that they choose, and this is a hard one. This is a hard one, and I'm guilty of it at times too. The intentional steward says no to conveniences that cost independence. That's a big one. Modern American society is built around convenience. It's convenient once you get holes in your socks. It's convenient to throw them away and go buy new ones. You know what? That's money that could be spent developing the land, and it's an inconvenience. Darning socks is an inconvenience, and that's just a simple example of what I'm talking about. The next thing they choose to invest time now to gain freedom later. One of the complaints I hear from a lot of homesteaders specifically are that they're slaves to the property. They can't go on vacation because they're taking care of the property. Yes, that is 100% true. If you decide to become a homesteader, the amount of time that you invest in the property increases exponentially. But think about it. Once your food systems are in place, you're not dependent on going to a grocery store all the time. You may go every now and then, once a month, to get some staples that you can't produce on your property, but it gives you freedom to do other things. And you know, if you've built community and you've invested in community, you've got somebody that's responsible and can watch your property for you. You can go do the things you want to do that are off the property. Here's the next one. This is a huge one. I cannot express how important this is. The intentional steward chooses to tune out noise and focuses on building a legacy. You know, the world is a very noisy place, and sometimes the messages that are meant for our ears come in the form of a whisper, and we have to be intentionally listening for those whispers and all that noise in order to hear them, and learning how to tune it out. How many people do you know that their entire world revolves around the noise of social media? It's bad all across the age spectrum. Every single age group, every single generation has this problem. We need to learn to tune that out and focus on building a legacy. You know, the preparedness that we're looking for is not fear-driven. It's purpose-driven. You know, the next thing they're looking at is and this, you know, this is a trait that starts when you're a prepper, but it comes to full fruition when you become an intentional steward. We're not focused on escaping society. We're focusing on what no longer serves it with the systems that do. We are not, I'm not looking to escape society anymore. You know, I haven't reached full intentional stewardship, but I'm not looking to escape society. I just want to be left alone, and I want to be able to build the systems here on my property that will meet my needs when the time comes, when those systems that the world has and society has stop working. And if you've watched the news at all, you know that this happens. You know that this happens on a regular basis. Natural disasters, man-made disasters, acts of God, whatever. It happens. All right, now let's talk about some of the obstacles at becoming an intentional steward. Because yes, there are obstacles. Becoming an intentional steward is not easy. Some of the common challenges are comfort creep. The ease of modern life pulls us back to dependence. I'm guilty of this. We are guilty of this within the last 2 weeks. We ended up having to buy a new vehicle, and we bought it on credit, so we're having to make payments. All right, that's costing us some freedom. It's costing us some time, and it's making it harder to do the things that we want to do and we need to do around here. It's very easy. I am reminded, if you're a sci-fi lover and you know the movie Matrix, I've got this saying: Cypher was not the hero. Cypher was the guy that knew the stake wasn't real, but he wanted to go back in the Matrix so that he could enjoy it. We're escaping the Matrix. We are getting away from that comfort, and we're getting away from the dependence that it breeds. Isolation. This is a big one. A lot of homesteaders suffer from this. It's hard to find mentors or like-minded communities. Yes, that's a true statement. But if you invest in it, if you make that very first step, the hardest step in building a community or finding mentors is the first conversation. If you intentionally do that and you build the community around you, you're not isolated anymore. Time debt. This is a huge challenge. I can attest to this because I am still working a day job for the insurance. Day jobs, screen time, social obligations steal precious hours away from what needs to be done. You know, one of the reasons why I'm stepping back from the festival circuit is because 2 years ago we went to 15 different events. And just so you know, excuse me, each time we go to an event, even if it's only a 2-day event, it takes an entire week to get ready, to travel, to come back, do the event, come back and unload and get ready for the next one. So we spent 15 entire weeks 2 years ago not working on the property. Yeah, that's not sustainable. And the final one, and if you guys can think of any other challenges, put it in the chat, put it down in the comments below. All right. Impatience. Humans are impatient, especially nowadays. We want immediate satisfaction. People try to leap into it instead of building their way forward. And this will lead you to backslide and have to tear things down and start all over. You know, I was on Local Preppers live. Was it this morning? Yeah, I think it was this morning. And they were talking about preparedness. And I made the point. I said, you're not a true prepper until you got a pile of useless gear and a lot of regrets, purchase regrets. And it's a true statement about preppers because we're just starting out and they're impatient, and so they get this stuff. And once you start looking at it more intentionally and building along the way as you go through the different phases, this impatience goes away. You know, the answer to it all. This is the answer to all the obstacles. Not to rush. You do not want to rush. You want to stay deliberate. We know where we need to be. We know how we want to get there. Keep doing it. All right. So how do we start becoming an intentional steward? Hey, Bill, Tennessee's in the house. What are the steps that we take towards becoming an intentional steward or intentional stewardship? First one, we need to audit our dependencies. We need to know what fragile systems we still depend on and choose a season. And the suggestion that I found was each season we choose to replace one of those with a more resilient alternative. All right. Easier said than done. I admit it. That is a hard one, but it's a goal that we should be trying to establish for ourselves. All right. Next one. The next one. This is a tough one. A lot of people have a hard time with this. We establish rhythms, not projects. Where's my book? I don't know where my book is. I've got a binder full of projects, and they are sitting there and they need to be done. But I've also got a rhythm. I've got a daily rhythm that I try to do. One of the best rhythms that you can get into if you're gardening, and I got this from Nicole Sauce at Living Free in Tennessee, is garden 30. Go out in your garden for 30 minutes and do what needs to be done every single day. Doesn't have to be done in the heat of the day. I do mine at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, or at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night after it's not hot. You know, but you establish this rhythm and you create these habits. And you know, it with the garden, if it's a rhythm throughout the year, you don't get the lunacy of the springtime frenzy that we always see. You know, and in the fall, make preserving the food part of your harvest plan, not just a last minute panic. How many times have you been canning at the end of the season and, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do, right? Build community and build that into the plan and you know, okay, hey, look, community, we're going to get together. We're going to go over we'll go over to Susie's house, and she just got in. Greg's out taking care of the cattle. So he's got his daily rhythm. We're all going to go over to Susie's house, and we're going to can her stuff today. We're going to take multiple burners over there, and we're just going to blitz it and get it done. And then the next iteration is going to be at Virginia's house, or at Zeg's house. You know, it's easy to do. Next one, next step we take, and this again, I am a big, huge believer of this. We need to teach and share. Even if you're just learning, share what you know. From my time in the military, learning how to teach troops basic skills and advanced skills, and from my time working in IT over the last 30 plus years, I can tell you right now, the best way for you to learn something is to share your skills and teach it to somebody else. You know, show somebody else how to do that. That is the best way to learn the skills and hone them to perfection. Perfection is not the right word because nobody's perfect. You know, and here's something else. And this is where a lot of these things overlap. You know, the generosity that we show in sharing our experiences and our skills helps build communities, and it deepens our own understanding of giving, right? And that's a huge important aspect. You know, as a Christian, giving is an important aspect of my religious beliefs. You know, as a permaculture consultant, giving is integral into the whole plan of permaculture. And here's the last one. Here's the fourth step that we can take. Actually, it's not the last. Yeah, it's the fourth step. It's the fourth step in what we can do to become intentional stewards. And it goes back to what I said before, to the talk about generational stuff. Live for 100 years from now. You know, look around you. What will outlast you? The trees, the land, the wisdom, and the stories. You know, I one of the things that I did on Memorial Day was I made a purposeful attempt to talk to my son and his family about their ancestors, the people that came before them that I knew, so that they would not be forgotten, because they never got to meet my grandparents. Neither one of my children got to meet my grandparents on either side of the family, and the stories about them and how they built our family are important. You know, the wisdom that my grandfather had as a rancher and farmer in southern Colorado is essential going forward. You know, as I said before, stewardship doesn't just mean planting for yield, it means planting for inheritance. Our offspring and their offspring are going to inherit what we've got. All right, so now we're getting close to the end. I've really enjoyed doing this. The whole intentional steward idea just really pops in my mind. So let me ask you guys a question. Everybody in chat, what's one thing that you do regularly that you want your grandchildren to learn from you? If you've got grandchildren, or you've got nieces and nephews, or you've just got somebody that you're mentoring, what do you do on a daily basis that you want them to learn? Susie says, here, let's put it up there. Praise God for the blessings. One is lucky to have food, water to drink, a roof over their head, and knowing God is there for you. Yep. Praying on a daily basis goes a long way. You know, my thing is the work ethic of getting out daily and doing the grind. That's what I want my grandchildren to learn, is the grind. If they're not doing homesteading, grinding whatever they're doing to become successful, and hopefully it's in the preparedness continuum. Virginia says canning and gardening and canning. Yes, absolutely. Those are fantastic skills. You know, Angela likes telling the story when we first moved into this place. A couple of the neighbor guys came over. They're cowboys. You guys met, if you've been on the channel for a while, you've heard me talk about Neighbor Chris. Well, Neighbor Chris is one of them. These guys came over about 3 weeks after we moved in, and they said, we've been watching your YouTube channel and we know what you do. We want you to teach us how to can and garden. our parents and grandparents did that, but we didn't pay attention. And so we want you to help us and help us relearn these skills or learn these skills so that we can become more self-reliant and liberty minded, right? Let's see here. Where are we? Here's the next question. In what you're doing, whether you're in the prepper phase, prepsteader, homesteading phase, or you're moving into the intentional steward phase, are you prepping for comfort? Are you building for comfort, or are you building for continuity? I'm not gonna lie. I make a half-ass joke. It's not really a joke because I'm serious about it. We've got ice maker that I can run off of solar, and I'm trying to plant pawpaws because I want bananas. And if you don't know what a pawpaw is, it's common name in Missouri and Kansas are banana custard plants or banana custard trees because it tastes like banana custard. That's a comfort thing. I want that at the end of the world because it's going to give me some it's going to help level out things, right? Simple fact is, the big thing here at Grumpy Acres is continuity, legacy. I'm planting trees. I'm bringing the land back to life, and it's such a great thing. It's such a great thing to see. Susie says that she hopes her grandchildren will learn how to work for an honest dollar and earn it so it's not given to you. Absolutely. That's exactly what I was talking about. Let's see here. Well, if I can hit it again. Lifestyle mindset. Comfort is temporary. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one thing a lot of people forget. All this comfort and everything that's been given to us can be taken away in a heartbeat. Finally, answer this question. What would your daily life look like if the grid stopped tomorrow? What would not change? It's a huge question. You don't have to answer that. If you want to think about it and you want to give a lengthy answer after this is over, go down in the comments. A lot in our life would change. We would lose a lot of the creature comforts that we have. Some of our stuff wouldn't change. We still got our animals, and if the grid stopped tomorrow, I wouldn't have a job to go to, and I could spend all my time here taking care of the animals, right? So we've got protein taken care of. The garden's coming in. I need to take you guys on a tour of where the bamboo used to be so you can see what's happening out there, because it's fantastic to look at. In fact, you know what? I've got tomorrow off. I'll do that. I will go out and I will shoot a little tour of where the bamboo used to be so everybody can see it. It's really cool. So yeah, there's the stuff that would keep us alive would become a little bit harder, but it wouldn't go away. Right. And that's what we're looking for. That's at the end of the day, that's the ultimate boss level of preparedness is if the grid stops and society breaks down tomorrow, we're not just going to survive, we're going to thrive. All right. So in closing, let's talk about this. In closing, being an intentional steward means taking deliberate actions to develop skills like gardening, food preservation, first aid, or emergency planning. It means managing your finances wisely to build savings and reduce debt, creating financial resilience. These all sound familiar, don't they? These are all aspects of different levels of preparedness. It's just you're fine-tuning them at the intentional steward level. Next one. We're making conscious choices about our lifestyles to reduce the environmental impact and enhance our self-efficiency. Self-sufficiency. There it is. That's the word I'm looking for. that reducing the environmental impact is a huge tenet in permaculture. That's one of the three pillars. And we're seeking knowledge and information that will help us be better prepared for various situations. That, again, this is something that we do at the beginning levels. So don't think that you have to be a homesteader to become an intentional steward. You don't. It's a lot more impactful at the homesteader level, though. I'm not going to lie. This is a big one. This is a big one that everybody needs to pay attention to. We need to be mindful of our mental and physical health, as these are vital resources for navigating challenges. And I'm not just talking SHTF type of challenges. I'm talking about the daily challenges of life. And the final one. Setting clear goals for increasing our preparedness and self-reliance and working towards them consistently. That is a huge thing. I did a video. You can go look it up in our back catalog about how to become an expert at something. And if you spend 100 hours diligently working towards a skill, you will master that skill, and you'll be ahead of about 99% of the people in the world at that. But you have to spend 100 hours diligently doing it. All right. By embracing intentional stewardship, individuals build a foundation for preparedness and self-reliance by thoughtfully and effectively managing what they have been given, leading to a greater sense of security and control over their lives. This is your invitation. Not to panic, not to hoard, but to live in a way that brings resilience, purpose, and blessings every single day. Listen, guys, I really enjoyed putting this video series together. Once this video goes live and it's available for rewatch, I'll tag the playlist for this at the end, so you can go back and watch it from the beginning if you want to. Again, if you want to help the channel, help yourselves by going down to the affiliate links and purchasing something from one of our affiliates. It helps the channel, and we try to put all that money that comes in back into the channel in the form of new mics, new lighting, and everything. Again, if you made it this far, if you watched this video through, you're watching this as a non-subscribed person on this live, think about hitting that subscribe button. It's more for the community than for the channel. We want people to come into the community, and we want to be able to gain their experience and knowledge and share what the community has. And if you get on our lives on Tuesday night, you'll see that we've got a very good community that has very deep roots and a lot of knowledge that they're willing to share. Plus, there's a bunch of characters in there that make it kind of entertaining, not going to lie. As always, when you put your head on the pillow tonight, you should be able to tell yourself, I'm better off now than I was when I woke up. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, embrace the day, be intentional, and go live a life done free, guys. All right? Take care.